Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to Drawing Down the Stars. I'm Snappy, and thank you for joining me for our live tarot session today, September 22nd, 2024. It's a beautiful day. Let's give a shout out to everyone in the chat. Good to see you, Gandhi. Much love, Christy. Lisa, good evening. Good to see you, Valerie. Nikosmas, good evening. Taz, much love. D-Love, much love. Daphne, great to see you. Holler Haint, much love. Mother Rhea, all the love in the world. Great to see you guys. It's so lovely. All right. Oh, good to see you, Magi. Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. So let's start off by giving a bit of a chat on the astrology. So we have now moved the sun into Libra. Beautiful, beautiful energy. And we now have the moon in Gemini. Big changes, profound energy though, and so beautiful, right? The sun in Libra is that beautiful, balanced energy, that compassionate, loving energy. Now is a time with this equinox change to really embrace that balance, to move from that striving of perfection into the flow, right? And with the moon in Gemini, we have that curiosity. We have that playfulness, that ability to communicate and to want to go out and to learn. So we can take this energy in flow in a balanced, reasoned, understanding way and be in that playful engagement with others. It's such a beautiful moment. Take advantage of this energy, right? Beautiful. Find your balance. Find your balance. All right. We are going to start our reading today with our Ganapati Oracle. Lord Ganesha, Ganapati, is the guardian of the threshold, the divine child, the Lord of beginnings, and the master of the Ganas, the spirits. And we ask them to inspire us and to send us a message through the cards. Ganapati, what is the message? All right. Nurture. Wow. Nurture. We have Ganapati in his form as the divine child being nurtured by his mother Parvati. Right? And that's that energy of taking responsibility, of taking care, of showing that loving kindness. And this so much corresponds to the title of today's episode. Through loving kindness, transform beast into unicorn. I almost forgot to speak on that, but this brings us right to it. It's that nurturing energy, that kind energy, that loving energy that can correct misbehavior, that can transform an animal into a companion, right? That turns the beast into unicorn, right? Through this nurturing, through this loving kindness, through that engagement, through that motherly love, right? It's how we are able to build these connections. And it's powerful, beautiful energy, right? It's about learning to, instead of engaging in that fight, to transform the energy another way. Instead of trying to force and bend someone's will, to engage them in that form of companionship and respect, right? To ask, to give and receive, right? In flow, in kindness, through that building of kinship. Very different energy, right? Than what normally people think of when they think of that magic or that way of going in the world, you know? We want to be in that mother energy, that grand nurturer. Okay. We're now going to start our sorties proper. And today we are going to begin with the Book of Thought by Aleister Crowley. For those of you unaware, the sortes is a form of bibliomancy, that is divination through literature, and it comes to us from the Greco-Roman tradition. And we invoke the goddesses of inspiration, the divine muses, and we ask them to send us a message through the text. So, muses, what is the inspiring message from Aleister Crowley? Here we go. The figures on the wheel are darker than the wheel itself. In fact, they are stains upon the purity of the wheel. And for that reason, and because of the whirling of the wheel, I cannot see them. Interesting. The figures on the wheel are darker than the wheel itself. In fact, they are stains upon the purity of the wheel. And for that reason, because of the whirling of the wheel, I cannot see them. Think on the chariot card. And on the center image, you will see that lapis lazuli, the spinning disc with the blue and the red band. That red band are the images upon the wheel that cannot be perceived because the wheel is in motion, right? It's about perspective and understanding. All of those images are there. All of the signs are upon the spokes of the wheel. Just because you cannot perceive the spokes does not mean that they do not make up the wheel, right? Interesting. Okay, let's continue. We're going to go to Antonin Artaud. Watch fiends in rack screens. Muses, what is the message from Antonin Artaud? Inspire us. And if scrutinizing closely in the tumefied slice of leg, from the old blotched thigh bone there fall it sinks and it stank. And there resurges the old warrior of insurgent cruelty, of the unspeakable cruelty of living and not having being, who could justify you. And there fall into the anchored hole of the earth, seen from above, and a brooch, all the tips lit up tongue, and which one day believe themselves souls, not even being wills. There rise all the lightnings from the flogging of my dead hand against the tongue in revolt. Wow. Antonin Artaud is always so intense. And if scrutinizing closely in the tumefied slice of leg, from the old blotched thigh bone there fall. This is referencing the origin of Zagreus Dionysus, born of the thigh bone, of the thigh of Zeus. For after Zeus destroys Semele with his brilliance, he takes that child and he incubates the child in his rotting thigh. It stinks and it stanks, and there resurges the old warrior, Dionysus reborn, of insurgent cruelty, of unspeakable cruelty, that's Saturnian force, right? Of living and not having being, who could justify you, and there fall into the anchored hole of the earth, seen from above, and a brooch, all the tips of lit up tongue, and which one day believe themselves souls, not even being wills. There rise all the lightnings from the flogging of my dead hand against the tongue in revolt. Saturn Kronos, the flogging of my dead hand against the tongue of revolt, resurrecting that ancient force, reborn again in the decaying flesh of the thigh of the Father. Whoa. That's some intense energy and myth. Excuse me. Mythopoetic imagery right there, my friends. Oh, I love Artaud. Okay. We're now going to go to Don Juan in Hell. All right. Muses, what is the message from Bernard Shaw and Don Juan in Hell? That was revelation. Up to that moment, I had never lost the sense of being my own master, never consciously taken a single step until my reason had examined and approved it. I had come to believe that I was a purely rational creature, a thinker, I said. With the foolish philosopher, I think, therefore I am. It was woman who taught me to say, I am, therefore I think. And also, I would think more, therefore I must be more. We read this before, but this is such a beautiful, revealing image. That was the revelation. Up to that moment, I had never lost sense of being my own master, never consciously taken a single step until my reason had examined and approved it. I had come to believe that I was a purely rational creature, a thinker. I said with the foolish philosopher, I think, therefore I am. It was woman who taught me to say, I am, therefore I think. And also, I would think more, therefore I must be more. What he's getting at is this limitation of thinking and this belief in control and an ability to assert one's will upon the surroundings and this obsession and this greed, right? Where that feminine energy, that woman perspective, at least as Don Juan sees it, is able to move beyond that master, right? Can see things in a greater perspective because they can understand that one can be limited by the body. What happens if someone controls your body, right? Do you really, like, I think therefore I am is such a limited understanding in many ways, because that thinking is dependent upon the body, and one can manipulate and control that body, and we are also succumbed to that body, right? You think you're acting in reason. Are you acting according to your health? Wow. Interesting. Let's continue. Marlowe, Dr. Faustus. Use this, guide my hand. What is the message from Dr. Faustus? I, John Faustus of Wittenberg, doctor, by these presents do give both body and soul to Lucifer, prince of the east, and his minister Mephistopheles, and furthermore grant unto them that 24 years being expired, the articles above written inviolate full power to fetch or carry the said John Faustus, body and soul, flesh, blood, or goods, into their habitation, wheresoever, by me, John Faustus. Oh, wow. The classic, the bargain, the trade, right? The tit for tat. To sell one's soul for what? To give up one's life, to lend it to that 24-year cycle. Right? He reads, I want to go to the top so you can see the full understanding of this contract, because it's just interesting. On these conditions following, first, that Faustus may be a spirit in form in substance. So he wishes the power to become a spirit. Secondly, that Mephistopheles shall be his servant and at his command. He has power over demons. Grimoire magic, right? Thirdly, that Mephistopheles shall do for him and bring him whatsoever he desires. Fourthly, that he shall be in his chamber or house invisible. Lastly, that he shall appear to the said John Faustus at all times in what form or shape soever he please. So you see, in this instance, John is believing himself clever by asking for power and not making it something specific that he can be bound to. And he's imagining that within that 24-year cycle, he will find a way out to break the contract or to overcome, to use maybe Mephistopheles. Wow. But 24 years is not a long time in some ways. In other ways, it's an infinitely long time. Interesting. We are all bound by cycles of a kind. Okay. Narcissus and Goldman. Okay. By Hermann Hesse. Muses. What is the message from Narcissus and Goldman? Inspire us this evening. These were experiences, emotions, and states of mind for the sedentary, the lawful, for people in heated rooms. Had he not the right of the homeless, of the non-possessing, to extricate himself from these delicate complications and to laugh at them? Yes, he had that right, and he was a fool to look for a kind of home here and to be paying for it with so much suffering, so much embarrassment. What a beautiful line. What a beautiful line. Why bind yourself to an ideal, to possessions, to security? And for what? Right? Is the sacrifice truly worth it? Is it worth the shame and the embarrassment? Is it worth all of the hard, soul-sucking work? And for what? For that illusion of security. To exist in conformity within community. To have that ideal image and to flaunt it to one's friends. But all of this is transient. What if you never get it? What if you get it and it turns sour? What if you don't like your community? What if something bad happens and that home you strove for is destroyed? What if the sacrifice is for naught? Right? You want to be able to move in that flow, not be bound to possessions, not make sacrifices that hurt you rather than expand you. Right? We were talking about this the other day. You want to embody that Artemis energy, the one who can move, who has the capability to create what she needs and has the strength to let go of things that she doesn't. All right, let's continue. We are going to go to the poems of W.B. Yeats. Okay. Muses, what is the message from Yeats? Inspire us this evening. Why do you need a sword? But you may keep it. Now that he's dead, I have no need of it, for everything is gone. Why do you need the sword? The sword is that death-dealing device. To wield the sword, right? Like, the sword is a very specific thing. It is not a tool, right? It is not a weapon of defense. It is a weapon of offense. It is designed for one single purpose. And for that reason, to wield the sword is to be engaged in combat. So this is the thing. Do you wield the sword? Are you engaging in needless combat? Right? What is the enemy you're trying to slay? Because combat always has that final outcome. That tit for tat, that violence will expand and expand and expand, right? Until someone's dying. And even then, Furies may get involved, or Astaya, right? Let's continue. All right. We're going to go to Independent People by Laxness. All right. Muses, what is the message from Laxness? Inspire us this evening. When he had released her, she bleated her way to her answering lamb. Wow. Wow. that beautiful nurturing energy. As soon as that feminine energy is relieved, where does it go? It hears the cries of the lamb and it goes to nurture, to take care of. Even a child not their own, another species, another animal, something deemed lesser. But that feminine energy pursues that nurturing energy, pursues that nurturing action. How beautiful. Wow. When he had released her, she bleated her way to her answering lamb. Bleated like a goat, no less. Beautiful. All right, we're going to go to Chapman's Homer, the Iliad and the Odyssey. All right, Muses, what is the message from Homer? Inspire us. Achilles answered the last part of his oration thus: Phoenix, renowned and reverend, the honors urged on us, we need not. Wow. Achilles answered the last part of his oration thus: Phoenix, renowned and reverend, the honors urged on us, we need not. Who is the Phoenix? It's that dying and rising virgin energy, right? It is that Medea, that Medwa that returns again and again and again through the variations of cycles, who is destined to marry Achilles. Right? Interesting energy. Wow. Okay. Let us go to Shiva in the Primordial Tradition by Elaine Danilou. Muses, what is the message from Elaine Danilou? Inspire us. Madhva defined Shankara as a deceitful demon who has falsified the teachings of the Brahma Sutra to lead souls astray. Someone like the good Dr. Aman would love this, because Adi Shankaracharya, for those unaware of Hinduism, is sort of one of the first creators of like a true, concise ideology. And this ideology is Advaita Vedanta, an absolute non-dualistic monist philosophy, right? It is this new kind of, it's a new kind of perspective in a new kind of way that emerges in this period for interpreting and reading the Upanishads and the grammar. And what we're seeing is that Madhva said that Shankaracharya was a deceitful demon who falsified the teachings of the Brahma Sutras to lead souls astray, to lead them into that monism. You know, Madhva was a strict dualist. Interesting. All right. Let us continue. The Jaguar and the Priest. An ethnography of Zetzel souls. Okay. Muses, what is the message from Pedro Pitarch? Inspire us. Small doses of rationalization over religious practices and conventions may be distilled from comments exchanged between different religious groups. Catholics, evangelicals, traditionalists practicing indigenous belief systems. For example, the idea of the resurrection of the flesh during the Last Judgment, that is the very literal image of corpses rising to heaven with all their flesh, is so at odds with the Setzel common sense that not only is it the object of mockery by the traditionalists, but the evangelicals themselves have an awkward time defending such ideas in public without experiencing open mockery. I love that. Don't you love that? According to these indigenous people, right, of the Chiapas region of Mexico, the Tetzel speakers, those who are still practicing their indigenous belief systems, this idea of the literal physical bodily resurrection, you know, that you get in some of these more Orthodox Protestant or evangelical groups where they believe that the body is literally going to come out of the grave and then physically ascend. Right? They're trying to sell this to the indigenous people, and the indigenous people think it's absolutely bonkers, you know. And their understanding in that book is that everything is this connection to these souls. Everything is about souls and going and moving between this world and the next world. There is no bodily resurrection, right? Everything is going through these cycles of death and rebirth, right? And there's this world and the spirit world. You have to move between them, you know? It's interesting. Okay, let's continue. All right, we're going to go to Cosmogonic Eros by Ludwig Klages. Okay, Muses, what is the message from Klages? Inspire us this evening. The City of God by Augustine, who details the opinions that they held in regard to that legendary holder of Egyptian wisdom and magic, namely Hermes Trismegistus. He was thought to have known and taught how to invite the spirits of the gods to inhabit visible and tangible images, that then, sensual and spirit-filled, predicted the future and pronounced the through lots, through the priests, through dreams, and through sortes. Even more, this is just interesting. I want to read this to you because this is fun. Even more revealing is the outrage of Minucius Felix and Octavius. Thus are the demons, as shown by magicians, philosophers, and by Plato, housed in statues or images, by means of magic rites, and they receive through inspiration the power equivalent to a present and immediate divinity, whereby they at times enthuse priests, inhabit temples, animate the filaments of intestines, direct the flights of birds, guide the fall of the lots, and issue oracles through the written word. And these are the madmen that you see in public spaces. And even the priests are made crazy by them outside of the temple, rushing and turning and spinning in circles. Love it. Rushing and spinning in circles. Makes you think of the Sufis, no doubt. So much magic in that statement here, right? It's about the creation of the eidolon, the idol, the image, the ideal. And through that divine image and the reception of that image and the engagement of that image, you can achieve a transcendent reality. You can experience the mythopoetic image in its totality, transcend time and realize the ideal. That's the point of that theurgy, right? To be enthused, possessed, inspired, right? To draw down that image is to become transformed and embodied by that image, right? You become like Artemis. Wild. Let's continue. We are going to go to The Voodoo Quantum Leap by Reginald Crossley. Muses, what is the message from Reginald Crossley? Inspire us this evening. According to Innocent, the Micaiah team offered a slave master on the sacrificial altar to the Petro-Congo egregore. Wow. This is some dark history talking about the creation and utilization of spirits and the creation of eidolons through that sacrificial magic, right? In one way, there are many ways to create that eidolon, and it's scary when we talk about this. People don't like it, but this is just reality, right? You can create that eidolon through that artistic creation, through that loving adoration, through the creation of song and poetry, right? Or you can do it with the sacrifice, through that ritual engagement, through that blood. It depends on who you're talking to and what they want. It's intense. Wow. You know, the Makaya is the violent, demonic, kind of left-handed voodoo. It's originally comes from like a Guinean cult, according to this book. Getting into some really intense stuff, but they're also doing that fighting against slavery, the most intense degradation of man imaginable, right? It's that tit for tat energy taken to its absolute extremes of violence. Wow. That's a good point, Gandhi. The Sortes has now shown us two extremes of creation of that eidolon. Through that imagistic reception of that pure art that's done through that Apollonian realization of perfection, right? And we've also seen it now through that wild engagement in the sacrifice. We need to discover and find that middle way. Let us continue. Monastery of the Seven Rays by Michael Bertio. Muses, what is the message from Bertio? Inspire us this evening. The ready mind can follow all the teachings of the masters. Such a mind is truly ready for the higher work. Am I ready? Have I been able to follow all the ideas with much effort? Do I understand what is being said? But most of all, is my mind open and flexible enough to change? Can I be critical of the self? This is interesting because this is an occult manual. This is a lesson plan from a specific tradition and lineage, a voodoo school, in order to teach you how to engage. And he's telling you flat out, before you can even begin, are you willing and able to let yourself go? And can you actually give up your perspective or change your perspective, right? Or modify your perspective? You have to have that strength, that maturity. You have to be able to truly embrace change. You know, change happens whether we want to or not, whether we can admit it or not. But if you can't imagine and go into the future, then the magical path is not for you. True magic is about that projection into the future, right? Even communication with the dead, it all exists about projecting forward in time to bring something from the back to the present, to affect the future, no doubt. All right, let's continue. Parvati Darpana by Dr. Harsha V. Dehasia. Muses, what is the message from Dehasia? Inspire us this evening. The act of looking upon becomes a manifestation of the primal epistemic act that leads to all other acts, the initial epistemic step that leads towards the unfoldment of self-knowledge. And there we have what the essence of the idol and the image is about. It is that reception, that perception, receiving of the image, right? That primal human epistemic voidness. And then we seek a reconciliation of the one and the many, the subject and the object, knowledge and ignorance. Wow. Faced with the void, the act of looking upon becomes a manifestation of the primal epistemic act that leads to all other acts, the initial epistemic step that leads towards the unfoldment of self-knowledge. It is when faced with the void, with the silence, with the nothing, with the fear of the dark that we create and manifest reality through perception. Wow. And recognize perception again is that Saturnian magic. It is a violent act. It is an act of dividing time, of slicing and cutting things apart, of breaking things apart down into their composites, right? Wildness. So much wildness today. So much image magic today. Okay, we're now going to go to book 4 by Aleister Crowley. Muses, what is the message from Crowley in book 4? The ipsissimus is wholly free from all limitations soever existing in the nature of all things without discrimination of quantity or quality between them. He has identified being and not being and becoming, action and non-action and tendency to action with all other such triplicities, and does not distinguish between them in respect of any condition or between any one thing and any other thing as to whether it is with or without conditions. The true fool here on full display. He calls it the ipsissimus, which is a master, a high grade within his magical system, right? But this is one who is wholly free from all limitation, existing in the nature of all things without discrimination of quantity or quality. For he has identified being and not being, becoming action and not action, being able to understand both the duality and the multiplicity of reality, to laugh in the face of absurdity and to go forward into creation. Wow. Beautiful. Okay, let's continue. The Name of the Rose by Umberto Eco. Muses, what is the message from Eco? Inspire us this evening. And in the grip of sensations of ineffable inner joy, I dozed off. And in the grip of these sensations of ineffable joy, I dozed off. I've had this very experience while in a meditative state where I'm just at peace, just in that profound being, in that reception, just in that experience. And then you wake up. Oh, I passed out. When did that happen? Beautiful. All right. Let's continue. The Three Musketeers by Dumas. Muses, what is the message from Dumas? It resulted from that the real stake in this game, which two most powerful kingdoms played for the good pleasure of two amorous men, was simply a kind look from Anne of Austria. And do we not see the cycles repeat? and Helen of another name, and silly men doing silly things, causing the deaths of countless. Over what? For what? To possess something that cannot be possessed. And for what? Affection. But they don't really understand or even know these women. So they don't even know how to achieve that or how to receive that woman's affection. It's such a ridiculous display of buffoonery. Nothing else. I'd laugh a lot harder if it wasn't just so painful at the same time. All for the sake of a gaze, for a gesture. Right? Again, back to that reception perception. Everyone wants to engage that image to perceive beauty. Yeah, an illusion. An illusion. Remember, in the version of the Helen story told by Stesichorus, Helen does not go to Troy. She is transported to Egypt, and instead a phantom is left in her place. So all of these people, the Trojans, the Greeks, they die for an illusion, a phantasm, an eidolon, a daimon. While the real Helen is off chilling with Achilles. All right. We are now going to do our tarot proper. But before I do, please give me a like and a subscribe. It really does make a big difference. It boosts everything in the algorithm, and I would truly appreciate it. And if you're at all interested in a private reading, please reach out. You can email me, snappydts@gmail.com, or find me on the Myth and Lore Discord, Snappy or Lady Snappy. And hey, shout out to our good pal Dion. I hope you had an amazing drum circle. I saw some of your playing. It was great. Come join us on the Discord and you can hang out with us and you'll get to see fun things like Dion chilling in a park in LA, drumming on his djembe. All right. So here we are. Let's do our tarot proper. And we are going to use the tarot, the Thoth Tarot of Lady Frida Harris and Aleister Crowley. And we are going to invoke Saturn Kronos. And we are going to ask them to dissect our life, to cut it up and put it upon the plate, to show us our present, and to expose our conflicts. And we ask, how do we rise above? Oof. Wow. 2 cards are shooting out at me. How do we rise above? How do we best move and flow? How do we evolve? How do we manifest our true will? And what is the special message for the community? All right, we got a few cards shooting out here. So our first card and the first one that came out. Strife. We saw this one the other day. Strife energy. Intense energy, the energy of conflict. That energy of pursuing one's passions and one's desires, but it's leading to that struggle, whether inner or outer. It's about that frustration and that fight, that inability to realize, right? And the struggle to persist and to engage, to force one's passion upon the world, on the reality, to pursue it with the totality of force, right? Intense energy, right? But also recognize when we receive that 5, we are 1 away from the perfected success of the 6. Perfect balance. Our will manifested and achieved, right? Passion realized. We are on the path and we are in the midst of the struggle, in the heat of that conflict. Interesting. We are showing up as that Knight of Cups, that mature, outgoing energy, that passionate, responsible person who wants to share in that emotional connection, who's in that pursuit of that mystical understanding, who has the cup of love and is willing to give and receive. right? Powerful energy, responsible energy. What we're seeing next to this Knight is the Hanged Man, also connected to that strife. Here's the issue. What we're seeing is that Knight is sitting, the Knight is sitting upon the tree. He has taken himself out of the conflict, and he is looking down and is trying to decide whether to stay or to go. And this act of trying to remove and not engage is leading to the strife. It's leading to that frustration, right? This is about recognizing that action must be taken, that we have to move out of where we are. We are in the midst of a very dangerous moment. We are hung upon the tree. If we do not have the strength to take ourselves down, then we will not succeed. We have to move beyond this vantage point. And to be able to continue, we have to make that sacrifice to transform and grow. To go through that struggle of climbing down from the tree and continuing, it will require a sacrifice. It will force a transformation, a taking of responsibility. And that is what's going to lead to the overcoming of strife. Having that ability to move past this place where we are stuck, right? Hung upon that tree. That tree provides perspective, but we have to eventually take that perspective, internalize it, transform, and move in active change. Take responsibility, right? We eventually have to face our demons. We climb upon the tree to gain that knowledge because we are afraid. We need a higher vantage point. We need to see clearer and understand deeper, both internal and external. And the tree provides that knowledge, but there is always a price, right? That knowledge then requires action. Okay, let's continue. Wow. Connected to that strife at the top of our square, we have the 10 of Cups, Satiety. This is beautiful energy. Even though we are having that strife, if we have the strength to overcome, to persist in this engagement, in this pursuit of the passion, the Knight will realize his dreams. That tower will be manifested, that Satiety realized. This is love and connection, expansive growth, right? Giving and receiving in abundance to the point where that love pours out in charity. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful energy, right? The completion of a cycle for this person. Wow. Let's continue. Wow. And connected to this emotional, communal, familial fulfillment, that satiety, we receive that success in our foundational energy of the discs, in our reality, in our physical being. Perfected balance and achievement. Idealized form. Wow, that's so incredible. What beautiful energy. What beautiful, beautiful energy. This is crazy. We do now have that victory, that 6 of Wands. That 5 can transform into the 6. We just have to persist. We have to have that strength to pursue, and it's connected to that Knight. And it's that pursuit of both that fiery, passionate energy and that love that will get us there. Yeah. Wow. We're seeing the duality here. We need to show up in both of these ways as that passionate pursuer of that love and as that emotional pursuer of that connection and of that wisdom. Two complementary, beautiful energies building, right? That lead to that incredible success, victory, and satiety. see where this is going. Yeah, connected to that night, we have the change, transformation, moving and flow. Again, we see it also connected to that hanged man. We have to physically change and get off the tree. We have to change our surroundings. We have to experience something new. We have to embrace movement. We have to be that island that floats upon the waters, right? That can flow and adapt. And these night energies are that energy that goes out in motion to pursue. They have the ability to change. Wow. And that magician. In the corner is that magician energy, right? That, wow, this is such beautiful energy. This is about, is this what you want? Call it into being and be the power to manifest it, right? Pursue that love, pursue that connection. And you will manifest so much incredible power and beauty and just, oh, like we let's take a full look here. But before I do, please give me a like and a subscribe. It really does make a big difference. And if you're at all interested in a private reading, send me an email, snappydts@gmail.com, or message me on the Myth and Lore Discord, Snappy or Lady Snappy. Okay, let's take a look. So here is our full Saturn square spread. Okay, we're going to start here, right? The key to the success is movement, right? Climbing down off the tree, embracing change, and then comes the success. Beautiful, beautiful energy. But we have to take responsibility and disciplined active action. We have to embrace change, ride and move with the flow, accept that responsibility, and then the success will materialize and manifest. We will walk and move in that middle way. Beautiful. Then we have that strife, right? That conflict that's at the heart of this, but at the same time, it's that energy that can be transformed. And we see that if we be that outgoing, fiery pursuer of the passion, if we engage with this strife head on, if we go forward with our capable, powerful energy, you are capable. You can overcome this strife. This strife is nothing. You must see and move beyond it and manifest what? The 10 of Cups. The 10 of Cups. And isn't this interesting? When you pursue that fiery passion, you overcome the strife and manifest the cup, the desire of this night. But when you pursue that energy of the Knight of Cups and you engage in that loving action, you manifest the success, the goal of this night. Right? The key here is that there must be these two energies together in harmony. We must approach that Sati energy through that passion. And we must approach that victory, that success through that emotional loving connection, right? If we can embody these energies in balance, then the success and the Sati, the victory, they are all here. They're all manifest. This is as positive, it's just about as positive as you could possibly get. 6-6-10. Perfected balance and growth in the world and in your passions, and perfected completion within the realm of that emotional connection. Wow. We just need to embody that energy, right? Of that Hermes, the magician, the one who manifests the story, who writes, who speaks, gives voice to reason, who asserts their will upon the universe. When we look at our cross, right? Yeah. Part of that conflict is learning and being able to embrace that energy of the magician. You know, there's an internal strife here because sometimes when we ascend that throne and we take authority, we resist it because we view that as egoic. We view that as ugly or greedy, but it doesn't have to be ugly or greedy. And we all need to take that power for ourselves at some point. You know, part of this is all about There are legitimate concerns about wielding this kind of magic, but also much of this is about keeping you bound and limited, keeping you from realizing your full potential, telling you not to write your story. Well, you write your story, you overcome that stress, and you achieve success. You be that outgoing pursuer of passion, and you receive love in its totality and satiety, expansive and overflowing. You be that knight. You give birth and connect to that story that you write, and you achieve that victory. You take responsibility. You climb down from that tree. You accept change. You move and flow, and you achieve that success. Right? The key to all of this is just to continue to be that fiery knight, to overcome the strife, to be that knight of cups, and to pursue that satiety, that loving connection, and to take responsibility, and to move and accept change, and to manifest, to dream, to imagine, to write your story. You want victory, you want satiety, you want success. Dream it. Call it forth, write it down, speak it to the universe. All right, my friends, that is the reading. I hope it resonated with you. It certainly resonated with me. Okay, and we're going to do one final sortace before we call it an evening. Okay, we're going to go back to Alexander Dumas, Three Musketeers. Muses, what is the message from Dumas? Inspire us. But when the cardinal added that not only Mademoiselle de Chevreuse had been in Paris, but still further, that the queen had renewed with her one of those mysterious correspondences, which at the time was named a cabal, when he affirmed that he, the cardinal, was about to unravel the most closely twisted thread of intrigue, that at the moment of arresting in this very act, with all the proofs about her, the queen's emissary to the exiled duchess, a musketeer had dared to interrupt the course of justice violently, by falling sword in hand upon the honest men of the law, charged with investigating impartially the whole affair in order to place it before the eyes of King Louis XIII, could not contain himself, and he made a step towards the queen's apartment with that pale and mute indignation which, when it broke out, led this prince to the commission of the most pitiless cruelty. Such BS, such propaganda. Such BS, such propaganda. It's all about how you control the story. We were just talking about that power of story, of writing the story. And what do we see? We see the religious authority changing the story, making it out that he is the great victim, that the queen is this force of evil, that he has all the proof, that he is the victim of these three musketeers, when we all know that it's the other way around, right? But it doesn't matter. The story's what matters, right? What people believe. Interesting. All right. That's the message. Take with it what you will. And I hope I will see you again tomorrow for more live tarot and sortes. Thanks again. Until next time, take care.